Hello, this is Louise Davis, the principal, and I'm here with Miss Mitchell, and we're going to talk to you today about the options process for students in Year 9. And the first slide you can see there on the screen is about our mission statement. As a school, our mission is to enable young people to flourish and enjoy future success by realising their full potential. And the talk we're going to give you today is about exactly how to help you enjoy your future success and start thinking about your first steps into the adult world of work and further study. So the options process then happens in Year 9. And what basically happens is students come to the end of Key Stage 3, they're moving into Key Stage 4, and we say to them, what are you going to be studying for the next 2 years? So unlike the rest of their time at school, students start to have a choice about what they can do. And it's really exciting. People really like that bit of leaving behind the subjects maybe they haven't particularly enjoyed and staying with the ones that they really do like and the ones that will make a difference to their future. So what we're going to do now is give you a little bit of guidance about the things you need to think about. And then Mrs. Mitchell is going to talk you through the process of choosing your options. So just something to think about when you are looking at all the options available is that you may think you already know what you want to do, but a lot of the jobs that some of you may go into in the future, they don't exist yet. So when I was at school, the internet had not yet been invented. So I wouldn't have known that there'd be lots of jobs in website development, in programming, in sales online and that kind of thing. And the same is true for you. So what we would always say is make sure you've got all the key subjects to make sure you're ready for your next steps. Now, we would say to everybody that the main two subjects are maths and English, and maths, as we know, is becoming increasingly important out there in the world of work. So maths and English, and then also the science subjects, because we're living in a very technical age, and making sure you've got those science subjects behind you is important. Now, they're the subjects you are going to have to take at GCSE, and you'll hear a little bit more about that in a minute. Also, think about how many of the jobs of the future are going to require you to stay in further study or training of some kind. And some of you may not realize that you cannot just go out at age 16 and get a job. The law has changed, which says that you can't do that. You don't have to stay in school. You can go to college, you can go off to a different school, or you could be working for somebody as an apprentice. And if you go into an apprenticeship, then obviously you'll be continuing your training until you're 18 or beyond. So remember that. Whatever you want to do next, you may need to think about what subjects you take now and whether you're going to be taking those for A-level or for further study. Also remember that the jobs you want to get into and the areas of study might be really competitive. If lots of people want to get into them, you need to make sure you've got all the right subjects that you need to get into the area you've chosen. So the next slide then is just a reminder that right now, you might be really convinced about what you want to do. And you might say, I know what I'm going to do. The only GCSEs I need are these 3 because I know I'm going off to do this particular job. And I'd say to anybody, you really don't know what you're going to be like in 5 years' time, 10 years' time, 20 years' time, and beyond. So even if you are really, really convinced, we say to everybody to make sure that you've got the best possible range of options for the future. You really do need to make sure that you're thinking not just about a few subjects, but about the whole range of subjects that you might call upon in the years to come. So be flexible in your thinking. Don't just say, because I want to do this right now, this is the only thing I'm ever going to want to do. Because for most people, we'll end up doing 4, 5, or 6 different jobs over the course of our lifetimes. So what are my top tips then for your choices? The first thing to say is choose for what you want to do in the future, not for right now. You might think photography sounds like a really good laugh and a good fun subject. It's not connected with anything you want to do in the future. And actually, you know, there are subjects that would be more useful, but you choose photography. I'm not saying don't choose photography. Photography is a great subject, but choose it if you think it's going to be useful for your future, not just because it's fun right now. Sorry about the pause there. We're recording this in school, so the school bell went then, so we just had a little pause so we could let the bell ring. So the second thing on the screen then is choose for you. What we mean by that is it's really tempting to choose the subjects that your mates are doing so that you're together with them for most of the day. That's a really bad reason to choose a subject. Your friends may go off and do something very different in their future. You really shouldn't be choosing the subjects just because your mates choose them. Similarly, we expect you to chat to your parents. We expect your parents to have a view about what might be a useful subject for you. But at the end of the day, you're the one that's going to be studying it. So if a parent says, I really, really think you should do this subject, but you know that you hate it, that you struggle to make an effort in it, and you really don't behave very well in it, it might not be a very good match for you. So don't choose for anybody except you. Choose what you enjoy. You're going to spend a lot of time studying these subjects. So choose things that you think appeal to your interests, the way you work, and so on. And choose what you're good at. You're about to get a report when you get back after half term. Have a good look at your report. What do teachers say your strengths are? Where have you got lots of really good grades that suggest that you make a good effort and you're engaging well in the subject? So have a good old look at your report. Think about what you like and make sensible choices on that basis. Now, the last things all go together really, and that's to say, don't rush this process. It's a really important one. And so you need to take your time, read the information really carefully, talk to people, talk to your parents, teachers, tutors, and have a good look online about any of the things that you're thinking about for the future. So if you know, for example, you want to be a plumber and you're thinking you might go and study plumbing at City of Bristol or Filton, have a look at their websites and see what are their entry requirements. Then think a little bit further ahead and think about if you were going to run a bigger plumbing business, what other subjects might you need if you were going to take that forward into your future? If you're thinking you might want to go to university at some point, have a little look at UWE, at Bristol, at other universities, at the kind of entrance requirements they've got, and just check that your subject choices are going to be a match. So for example, if you think, actually, I'd like to read history, I'd like to study history at university, but I'm not going to take it at GCSE, that's going to be a little bit of a problem. Make sure that your choices make sense for the future. Do some research and don't be afraid to come and ask us. If you want our guidance about college, about apprenticeships, about any of those things, there are lots of staff in school to talk to. And the last bit, if you do stuff you love and stuff you're good at, the final bit to think about is, do you want to do something in the future that people are going to pay you to do? Because obviously you need to think at some point you're going to need to go out and get a job or an apprenticeship. So there are things that you like, things you're good at, and then think about what can you do as a living that someone will pay you for. And obviously we'll give you guidance in the weeks and months to come about that. And last thing to say then is if you don't know what you want to do, that's completely normal. You know, most of you are 13 or 14, you're thinking about big decisions, stuff that's really important for your adult life. You might not have a clue. Now, obviously, we've done the hard work for you because we've already said you've got to do maths, English and science. So we know that everybody will have 5 GCSEs in subjects that will open lots of doors from them. Other than that, think about keeping your options open. Think about a mix of subjects that mean that you could take your future career in lots of different directions. Because if you apply the principles we've told you about, so choose what you enjoy, choose what you're good at, then you should be able to keep your options open and make those decisions a little bit later. So if you don't know yet, please don't worry. Last thing to say then is that students achieve their full potential when they take responsibility for their own learning and develop the knowledge, skills and personal qualities necessary for success. So we're going to help you do that last bit. We'll help you develop the knowledge, skills and personal qualities. Right now, it's time for you to take responsibility for your learning, to decide what you want to study and to make the very best of the 2 years ahead of you. Now I'm going to hand over to Mrs. Mitchell.
Thank you. So I'm just going to run through some kind of more details with you about exactly what this options process will look like, some key dates, kind of all the real specifics you need to know to kind of make your choices and make them well. So obviously at Key Stage 3, so year 7 to year 9, you've had a really broad curriculum where you've studied lots of different subjects, but maybe for 1 or 2 hours a week or a fortnight. And what will happen when you reach year 10 is that you'll have less subjects, but you'll have them for longer. And that process is all about choosing your options. So the first thing, just to kind of reiterate what Mrs. just said, is that you'll still have your core curriculum. So you'll still have English, maths and science. And we do 2 English GCSEs and 2 science GCSEs, meaning that's 5 GCSEs in total, including your maths. You also get to keep a bit of core PE and a bit of PSHE. So that's something that every single person will do for those first 5 GCSEs. You then have your option subjects. So this is where we get to pick 4 subjects that you want to continue on top of that core curriculum. And in these subjects, you'll have 5 hours a fortnight. So that's a bit of an increase from perhaps the ones you've had already. And options is all about picking those subjects. So how do we help students choose? So students have already had an assembly with me a couple of weeks ago where we've talked about what options are, starting to think about the process, kind of getting that, initial thoughts in place and talking to them about the timelines. They've got an idea of what they're looking for. This week, we've had a really amended tutor programme. So we've started looking at the options booklet, which has been given out at the very start of this week at Tuto, and tutors spent a lot of time looking through that booklet. We've also had a look at the form together, so they're really clear about what the form is, how to complete it, and then we're going to start watching some of kind of the videos. Now, as we go in kind of after half term, we're going to continue with these videos because we've got a number of videos that have been recorded by our staff members that talk to you about what the subject is, who it might be really suitable for, the assessment type, is it more coursework, is it more exam based, just so they've got a really clear idea about what it is people are actually choosing. Now, we've got these videos available outside of Tutor. So if you're watching this from home thinking, oh, I'd really like to know a little bit more too, or maybe you've missed a tutor or you just want to watch it again, these videos are all available on our website. So if you go to bedminsterdown.org.uk and then you go to student area, which is just there on your screen, you'll see these options pop up. And the one you need right now for this one is Year 9 options, which is right down in that bottom right corner. And if you click on that one, you'll see a screen that looks a little bit like this. And what you have there is you have, firstly, another copy of the options booklet. So if you'd rather read it on screen, you find it easier than having the physical booklet, you can do so. There's another copy of the options form. So if you lose it, you're welcome to kind of print yourself another one. You have as many of those as you need. And then lastly, you've got curriculum videos. So this is where you can open the videos at home and you can see a video about all the different options that we run. So you've got a better idea about what it is that you're choosing. And then lastly, we've mentioned already, you will get a report about how your current Year 9 is going. And that report will come out in the first week back after half term. That report will detail for you your air grades, so your attitude to learning, your independence and your readiness. So you'll get a sense of actually, if I want to pick this subject, am I being told at the minute that my independent skills are good? Is my attitude to learning where it needs to be in order for this to be a realistic option for me? And it will also give you a sense of how well you're progressing. So we've just sat the Year 9 mid-year assessments. So all of those bits of data are being processed as we speak, and that will tell you a realistic kind of, both target and predicted grade in these subject areas, just to really help you pick and fine tune that process after you've already had a chance to start thinking about it. So the details really that everyone always wants to know, this is kind of the big bit of the PowerPoint, is what can we pick from? Now, all of these are also written in our options booklet and on our form, so you can find those there too. But the first thing to start with is we've already talked about keeping options open. And there are some really kind of key elements to that. One, you need to do English, maths and science. They're the ones that open all the doors for you. But in order to be a kind of competitive candidate, be that for future colleges, universities, apprenticeships, jobs, we do ask that everyone studies at least one of history, geography or French. Now, these are called EBAC subjects, the English Baccalaureate. That's where that comes from. And it's about keeping your curriculum broad and balanced and competitive. So everyone must pick at least one of those 3. And you'll see on the top part of the form that you need to tick one of those. Now, I do want to say at this point, when I say at least one, I mean, you are more than welcome to pick all 3 if you like. And in fact, we'd encourage you to pick as many of those as you can. History and geography is often a really popular combination. So please do feel free to pick as many of those as you like. But the minimum is that everyone needs to have at least one. So once we've chosen that one, then we've got one done. There are 3 options remaining. And we've got a number of options, which you can see on the screen here. And I won't read them all out to you because, again, you can see them on the screen and they're all in the booklet. But we've got a wide range of options that you can pick from. Now, we don't run kind of options blocks. So at this point, we have complete freedom about how people choose them because we do our timetabling from that afterwards. So at this point, we've got 3 choices and then plus 2 reserves to pick from that bottom selection. Now, there are just a couple of ones you need to be aware of that actually we can't pick together. And that's very simply because they're just too similar a course and they're not recognised necessarily to be independent. So the first one is just art and art textiles. Now, art textiles, the wording sometimes throws people off. That's the formal name for it. But essentially, you've got art and you've got textiles. Okay. Now, they are too similar in nature to be considered separate GCSEs. So we have to pick at least basically just one of those. So you can pick art or you can pick textiles, but unfortunately, you can't pick both of those. So it's one or the other of those. Really similarly, we also do the same with ICT and computer science. So again, they are kind of both looking at computers and thinking about kind of future strategies. I would really recommend watching the video of computer science and ICT. So you're carefully thinking about which one would be more suitable for what you want it to be. It's worth being aware that computer science is extremely coding heavy, which has a large reliance upon your kind of maths ability. So we do ask that for computer science that you are a higher tier mathematician. So if you're in a higher tier math class, computer science is a great option for you. If you're not sure about what maths class you're in, have a chat to your maths teacher. Also take a look at the form. We've put the names on it there for you to have a check too. So we've got two different courses there. We ask you to pick one or the other. And like I say, if you're a higher tier mathematician, computer science is an option. If not, the ICT course is brilliant. It's a BTEC course, which has lots and lots of different kind of applications and skill sets. So do kind of have a look at that video too. The other thing just to note on some of these subject areas is that you might not have studied some of them before. So some of them you've done in Key Stage 3, but some will be brand new. And I would just really encourage you to both chat to our staff and also watch the videos for the courses that you haven't studied before, just to make sure you've definitely understood what that course is about. So for example, if I was to look at health and fitness, you might turn up on the first day going, I love PE, this is a great choice for me. You rock up in your PE kit to find actually it's not a practical examination. I'm not being judged on the fact I can go out and I can play my football or whatever it is outside. This is a written course. It's spent inside. A lot of it is coursework based on a computer. There's an awful lot of theory. There's a big link to biology. So making sure you're really understanding the content of the course you're picking is really key there, rather than kind of assuming from the name. And again, videos and stuff are the best way to make sure you've got that. So onto the form itself, this is kind of what the form looks like. And like I say, there's a copy on the website and there's multiple copies with your tutor. So if you make a mistake, please don't worry, you can have another one. But the really key point to note is that there is absolutely no benefit to getting your form in early. It's not a first come, first serve basis. And actually, if anything, we actually genuinely won't take your form in until the deadline. And that's because when we run through the support we're offering you, we want you to have time to really think about it, ask your teachers, potentially change your mind a couple of times, and actually look at the reports we're giving out on that first week back after half term and make sure you've really thought through absolutely everything you need to consider. We do ask you to pick 2 reserve choices. Now, we do our absolute best to make sure that everyone gets their first choices. And generally, because we timetable once we've got the choices in, we're generally really lucky in the fact we are able to get people as, the large majority of things they ask for. But there will be times where we need to kind of know what people's kind of other options might be if they weren't to get their kind of top 4. So you'll see on the bottom half of the form, you're after choosing 1 through to 5. So you've got your first EBacc choice in the middle section of the form, and then you've got your next 3 plus 2 reserves. And we just ask you to put them in priority order. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we get a really good sense about which order you would like to put them in if you had complete choice. You won't be able to change your mind. Please pick carefully. Because we do our timetabling afterwards, we literally find out what all of year 9 want, and then we do our best to make our timetable reflect that. That does mean that we can't unpick things very easily because we've literally designed the timetable around it. So just be really cautious with your kind of picking, really think it through, take the time to do it carefully and properly so that when your form is in, you're really confident that actually you know what this course is. You're not going to go on the first day of year 10, suddenly find out it wasn't what you expected, and then come knocking on the door saying, I really do want to change. So take the time to do it really carefully now so you have the best opportunity to get in the lessons that you really want to be in. So this is the key date, the one that everyone asks for, and I'll come back to the rest of the time frame in a minute. But the deadline for this coming in, and it goes into your tutors, is Wednesday, the 1st of March. Okay, so that's the time that I need your form in. But I just want to kind of go through really some of the key dates in this process so you can have a look about what's already happened and think about what's coming up. So options assembly happened a couple of weeks ago. So we started thinking about the process, describing what options was, kind of what we'll need to do moving forward. We've given out forms in tutor time this week, so they've had all this week to start thinking about that process, thinking about the forms, and thinking about kind of what we might be picking with our tutors. So that's kind of tutor time all this week. And then we're currently just about now at half term. So we've got that kind of initial thought in place. You know, we've had the evening last night where people have come and chatted to us where needed. And we've got that week now to take a breath from it, do a little bit more research, as Miss earlier suggested, about thinking about what it is you might need moving forward in your future. And then when we come back after half term, we'll go back into amended tutor time sessions for a week and a half. So when you come back, really important that you go to tutor really promptly and you think about, again, those options videos. I'm going to have one-to-one conversations with our tutors. So where are you up to? What is it you need support with? What are you thinking? What advice do you might need? So be ready for that when you come back after the half term. So the first Friday back, your Year 9 reports will come out, and they'll come out on My Child at School, as they always do. But we'll do something special this time in that Year 9 will also get printed reports with all that information on, handed out to them on that Friday tutor time. So we'll have a really kind of clear sense with our tutors. How is it we're getting on? Are there any surprises? Are there any areas that maybe kind of reflect and make me change my mind? So again, that Friday is going to be a key one. You've probably already got a draft in your mind by this Friday. Does my draft options reflect what is coming out in my report, or do I need to go and have a chat to a teacher that I wasn't expecting? Then we've got one more weekend, a couple more days with tutors, and that's the point where we start taking in forms. So that's kind of how that whole process will look. There are copies of the booklet and form, like I say, on the website, or alternatively, tutors have them as well. So please just kind of ask. That's absolutely fine. We've got lots of them everywhere, but I say also all available on the website. If there's anything that anyone needs at any point at all, please just ask. Tutors at this point are the first kind of point of call here. So get in touch with the Year 9 tutor. You know, ask in tutor time if it's a student-based question, or if not, like I say, any questions into Year 9 tutors will be more than happy to help. If it's a subject-specific query, like I say, have a little look at the videos on the website, or do feel free to get in touch and ask the question to the direct members of staff that run the courses. So all the best of luck with your choosing. So I'll just pop the time frame back on the screen for you just to finish. So hopefully you have a really good half term, thinking about all these things of advice we've given you, watching those videos, finding out about the courses, thinking about your kind of future choices and going from there. And like I say, any questions, please do get in touch. Good luck, Year 9.